All right, good to have you all joining us on this very, very humble event. We are going to be talking about the plight of the refugees in Uganda, particularly focusing on Kiryandongo refugee settlement. What are the challenges affecting the persons with disabilities within the refugee settlements? Largely talking about the youth with disabilities. That is going to be our focal point today right here in Chigumba at the main Technical Institute Hall. All right, let's summon that is Isaac Okwi. He is the program manager working with Y Global to talk about why we are here and get some opening remarks. Mr. Isaac, the floor is all yours.
Honorable Speaker of this Parliament, the People's Parliament, community members from both refugees and the host community present, particularly people living with disability, to which we are purposely here tonight. My name is Mr. Okwi, Isaac Kudia, the program manager of Y Global Uganda. Y Global is a global movement that came from YMCA and YWCA, Young Women and Young Men Christian Movement. It is an international movement, and for the case of Uganda, it is named as Y Global. It is always very confusing, and people do not understand what the Kufam refers to. These difficult words in reds you are seeing. The difficult words you see and you always struggle to understand comes from a Norwegian word which refers to YMCA and YWCA. Honorable Speaker, sir, yes, sir. Y Global Movement started in Uganda in 2016. 6 years ago, and we are here for a purpose. Where we are basically found, we are located in the settlement, in the refugee settlement, at the OPM premises. That is our physical locations. Honorable Speaker, in as far as program is concerned, we are concentrating our work in Kiryandongo district, in both refugee settlement and in the host community, with 70% beneficiaries to come from the refugee communities, and then 30% beneficiaries to come from the host community. And in doing this, Honorable Speaker, we are guided by the 1325 and 2250 UN Security Council resolutions, which is on women, peace and security, and youth, peace and security. We are relevant to the community of Kiryandongo in 4 major thematic areas. And this has to do with the providing psychosocial assistance to people who are in need. These are people who are faced with the trauma. These are people who are faced with the psychosocial challenges of different nature. We also relevant to this community in the area of economic empowerment, whereby we give the youth support to make them be able to live on their own. These are done through vocational training, through providing livelihood supports to the youth, both women and men. We are relevant to this community in as far as promoting peace is concerned. And most importantly, we look into ensuring that there is inclusivity, and that is the together for inclusions of people with disability. And I think that, to me, is most important in as far as this debate is concerned. We want to understand there are challenges in as far as people with disability, but most importantly, the mental health challenges of people with disability. Y Global, as part of this campaign, we are committed to implementing the Global Disability Summit resolutions of creating awareness about the need of people living with disability. We are also interested in ensuring that we come out with the solutions, we come out with the response, we address the identified needs of people living with disability so that they also consider themselves human in the society that they live with. As Y Global and all of us, we are interested that this platform, this debate, the national televised debate, should offer a platform for organizations of people living with a disability to engage with the different partners, to challenge and find a way to come out to deal with some of the challenges that these people are facing. It should give them opportunity to debate and discuss the social, political, and economic challenges of people living with disability and to come out with the important way forwards to deal with some of those challenges. As Y Global, we are committed to work with our partners, and I'm happy to mention in specific to empower and strengthen the associations of people living with a disability. And in this regards, I would not fail to mention KIDA, that is Kiryandongo Youth Development Association. That is a key partner or organizations for people living with disability. We will ensure that we continue partnership, and I want to call for all partners, including the government of Uganda, the government of Kiryandongo district, that we need to build a concerted effort so that we're able to challenge, to champion the cause of redressing the needs, the challenges that people living with disability are facing in Kiryandongo district for both refugees and the host community. Honorable Speaker,
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
I was reading some literature and I noticed you did expedite a project around 2021 by Y Global in Kiryandongo Refugee Settlement. We'd like you to bring us up to speed with the details surrounding those projects, the phase 1 and the phase 2.
Y Global, in its baseline studies, realized that there is a need for inclusive approach in addressing the challenges that people of Kiryandongo is facing, including particularly the refugees. And on that ground, Y Global came out with an initiative to provide supports to people living with disability under a project called TOFI, that is Together for Inclusion. In this process, Honorable Speaker, we are happy to inform the House that we were able to identify the needs of people living with their disability and themselves in terms of their particulars. We registered them with the help of the Office of the Prime Ministers, other partners, and the district. And based on their need, we have been able to give them some supports in terms of assistive device. And several of people living with the disability were able to be supported through assistive device. And in that regards, we got more informed that it is not only the tangible assistance, just like we have given to them, which is a solution to some of their needs. Some of their challenges are software in nature. It has to do with the level of stigma that the community is facing. It has to do with the exclusions of these people in planning, in decision making, in their different places, could be at the family level or in the community.
We do know that in 1954, actually during the era of colonialism, there was a Mau Mau rebellion in neighboring Kenya here. So the administration of the whites, the colonialists, did actually create Kiryandongo refugee settlement to bring in the Kenyans who were fleeing Mau Mau. Fast forward, we did also see in the preceding years the South Sudanese conflict also bringing most of the refugees coming into the country. The DRC conflict also saw some of the refugees also coming to the country. I'm talking about the 1990s moving forward and so forth. So we do have some refugees from Sudan, Southern Sudan, the DRC, Rwanda, Burundi, but the majority are from Southern Sudan. Am I right? So when you talk about mental health and psychosocial support systems for these young people with disabilities, what exactly do you mean, Isaac?
What is happening as far as the mental health of people with disability, generally we are conducting a study, an assessment to understand the challenges faced by people with disability, most importantly, their mental health. The preliminary results of the findings already shows that there is a gap. In as far as dealing with their psychosocial challenges, they are already refugees. By that fact, they are people in need, they are vulnerable. But this is a situation whereby the preliminary report that we have collected shows that they don't have a place where they can go in order to get specialized service.
I see.
First of all, it is very difficult to identify where they are for the services. Sometimes the services are there, but they don't have access to reach these services. These are some of the challenges that increases on the level of psychosocial problems that needs to be paid attention to.
Thank you so much. Isaac Okwi is the program manager working with Y Global. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
And of course, we also do have another representative of he's the chairperson of the Disability Union within our midst. Yes, you can come and also give us a brief into the research that you did within the field. Chairperson, thank you for joining us. Your name, please introduce yourself. And the conversation largely is about the aggregation of data. The fact that if we do not have data pertaining to how many of the disabled people we have within the refugee settlements and the urban settings, how can you even plan? Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I am Bagada Godfrey, Chairperson, Organization of Persons with Disability, Kiryandongo District. First of all, I want to say our role as a district union or organization, as the leaders of the district organization for persons with disability.
I can't hear you. Make sure the mic.
Our work is as leaders, is to organize persons with disability in the district of all categories of disabilities. In fact, we are the district umbrella, taking all the disability categories. Our work is to coordinate the person with disabilities, the government, community, civil society organizations, NGOs, in case there is a need. That's our role. And then we also advocate for persons with disability rights. Where there is an abuse of a person with disability human right, we also intervene at a certain level. E.g., for respect of life, you know, when a person with disability is born, that care and that different feeling of the family. So it is our role. We have to come in and also do counseling, a little bit of counseling and guidance. And even those ones who have got challenges, say, for example, they need corrections. By correction, we mean whereby somebody is born, maybe is lame, but he can be taken to the hospital and he worked on, at least he remains with disability, but at least adjusted. For if he can't walk, but now he can walk using a crutches. Those are some of the work we do.
The problem here, Geoffrey, is identification. It's hard to identify someone who is suffering with a mental health problem. It is easy to tell if someone is missing a limb or an arm, that person is disabled and they need some kind of help. But there is a person right now, a refugee, who is distressing. They have their arms, they have their limbs, but here something is happening. How do you identify this person within the host communities, that this person is distressing and they need your help?
Okay.
Talk to us about the mechanism you use to target this.
Yes. First of all, to identify a person that has a mental problem or mental health challenges, we identify them depending on where does he stay. That's one, because some refugees go out to the community for survival. Some have abandoned the refugee camp, some come to the community and then they start to work. Some come to their relatives. But the moment we identify that this youth or this person has got this challenge. You know, for us, person with disability, we have already known. We can't take, some other people who don't know, they can take that maybe is drunk, maybe is totally mad, but we know that that is such a person. First of all, what we do is to link him with the persons who are concerned. Say, for example, in our communities, we have people who have even living with us from the refugee camp. We must know that that person might have come, then they connect us to Y Global, some contacts are there. With some leadership in the camp, we have their contacts. When we call, then they come and rescue or pick that person. That's what we do. Otherwise, there is no much what we do better than that. But again, the level differs. I might be there and then is maybe disturbing, what. That's where we call maybe police to help. Yes, when police comes and then they identify that this gentleman or this person is mentally sick, I think the only thing is to refer to the hospital. And then the hospital works on him by maybe
okay,
giving.
Geoffrey, I think I get your point, but I'm going to give you a minute to summarize on the challenges you've encountered while executing your work. What are some of those challenges you've encountered?
Yes.
And what do you need government to do for you?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
We have a number of challenges, but just as you know, for us as a district organization leaders and leadership, we have a challenge of having no office space. The way you see me walking, that's the chairperson. Although we work under the district community development office, but we don't have a desk there. That is our challenge. At least they promised us that they are going to give us an office space when the new structure
so you do
is
not have
finished.
The capacity to do your work.
So, I said?
So there is no capacity.
We don't have funds. Coordinating is a challenge, and then we have a challenge of parents with all the community being negative. This is a very big challenge which the government must look into.
Parents who are negative?
We have another challenge is about children with disability. The challenge is the government has planned for UPE, USE, and then others. But a person with disability, the government is saying we have to go into integrated oral inclusion education. That one, there is still a challenge if we don't focus very well ahead of us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
That is Geoffrey. He comes with a wealth of information. I like him already. All right. Thank you for that. And this is the first half of the People's Parliament. We are still here in Kiryandongo district, and we are talking about the plight of the refugees, especially youth with disabilities. Y Global since 2016 has been doing amazing work, courtesy of the Office of the Prime Minister, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. But of course, we need to do more for our dear refugees, especially the young people. We'll be right back right here on the People's Parliament. Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us right here on the People's Parliament. We are in Kiryandongo district, and we are talking about mental health and psychosocial support for people with disabilities. Let's also bring in a representative from the Office of the Prime Minister. A lot has been talked about, and we need some kind of redress from the members of the government. So the representative from the OPM is going to be joining us in a jiffy to talk about that and the statistics on the PWDs and also the youth with disabilities in Kiryandongo refugee settlement. We remember we are talking about some 74,000 come through. We are talking about some 74,000 people within the refugee settlement. Initially, there were 60,000. So we are ideally summarizing and saying many gave birth, and that's why we are talking about 74,000 young people. Okay, here, Sergeant at Arms.
We have the entire population which we host in Kiryandongo, which is 77 refugees at the moment, and of which there are 77 refugees in Kiryandongo district, Rajas Kiryandongo settlement.
77,000.
All
right.
Of refugees, of which majority are South Sudanese, and the population settlement of The composition are majorly women, youth, and children. And when you look at the categories of the population of people of concern, and specifically to persons of concern, we have specific people with special needs. But when you look at the key areas of special needs people, we look at the settlement today. Out of the 77 population, 1,000, we have 2,426. Of the 2,426, these are the people with special needs, of which people with disabilities are part of these categories.
How many are disabled within the refugee settlement?
How many people are disabled?
How many are grappling with disabilities?
People we have in the settlement. I'm talking in terms of the settlement coverage, not people living in the host community.
No. We are in Kiryandongo refugee settlement.
Kiryandongo
Yes.
refugee settlement.
How many are disabled and grappling with psychosocial problems?
The people who are disabled and they need psychosocial support, among the people we have, of the 2,400 people with special needs,
Nice.
yeah? There is a difference. We categorize people with special needs, it is a range of lists. But specifically, if we're looking at only people living with disabilities, there are 205
Nice.
within the settlement. But among these, we have special needs people, which needs close attention of psychosocial support,
Yeah.
which makes it 2,426.
The majority.
And of which these are the majority, the majority people with special needs, out of the 77,000.
All right. Perfect. Go ahead.
So
Following. Let's talk about what you've done so far as OPM. For the 2,200 people grappling with special needs and the 205 grappling with various disabilities.
for the 2,424, what we have supported as OPM is to settle them, to give them a home within Kiryandongo settlement, providing them with security, which is shelter, physical security, which we work together with police, protection, which goes beyond shelter, protection of their mind through working together with partners, specific partners who are specialized to give these services. And this is derived from the current framework we're working with, that is Refugee Comprehensive Response Program, which looks beyond the person, physical appearance. We look at health, we look at the livelihood, we look at education.
Education is important. Talk about that for the
Education.
ones with special
On
needs.
education specifically, when you look at the refugee operation, we have already 68 students who are administered under Masindi School of Handicapped, who go for specialized education under that area. Because this is, in terms of health, we work with specialized people who take their measurements and they give them the right assistive devices which can support them to locomote, to
Indeed.
commute from one place to another.
How can you
outwards.
help someone whom you do not know? We are getting information that some of these refugees come in, they don't go to the settlement, and in the host communities, they don't register with the local authorities. So how do you identify these individuals who do not want to be seen or even, identified?
Identification of refugees, identification of illegal migrants who are settled in the host community. Because the refugee will be identified with us as OPM. A refugee is someone who's already been granted a refugee status. Then you are either an asylum seeker or a refugee. If anybody is staying with a person, maybe from Congo, from South Sudan, from Rwanda, and is not known to us, he did not disclose that I want refugee asylum or status in Uganda, that one is not a what? A person of concern to us.
And
but
those are
how
the
do
people
we
suffering
work?
silently.
How do we work? We work together with police. We work together with local communities to report such cases. When it comes, they know anybody who comes in Uganda is a refugee.
All right, thank you so much. That was really, really great, and we shall call on to you again because you have a wealth of information that we need to tap into so that we understand the situation on the ground. Thank you so much. That's a representative coming in from the Office of the Prime Minister. Of course, she did hint that there's a member from security right here. After the break, we shall actually hear from you on the issue of insecurity within the refugee settlements. We've heard that the persons with disabilities are facing sexual abuse within the settlements. So we would like to know more that is being done by the members of the security to clamp down on these vices within the refugee settlements. Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us right here on the People's Parliament. We are in Kiryandongo district, and we are talking about mental health and psychosocial support for people with disabilities, especially in Kiryandongo settlement and also the host communities alike. We do have the area MP, Mr. Lennox Ngompek, who's going to give us an account of how many of the people are distressing within the refugee settlements and also the host communities. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Oh, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Indeed.
For the People's Parliament, NTV. My name is Linus Ngompek. I am the area MP for Chibanda North Constituency, Kiryandongo District. As government and Parliament, we have an act. It's called the Mental Health Act 2018. And this act looks at several issues affecting people with mental health. We have this act directs government to set up the Uganda Mental Health Advisory Board, and also entails the district COW to set up the district Mental Health Advisory Board, and then the Mental Health Tribunal. COW must also appoint a mental health focal person who will be in charge or take charge of ensuring that those communities or individuals who are mentally disturbed, the district must know how they are being managed. During my campaigns, I would meet very many people with disabilities, and most of their problem or challenges they face is drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and you find that they're the people who are rejected by society. Even if you're talking to the community, for them they are put aside. And yet these are the people who need this psychosocial help. Unfortunately, at the district level, we don't have counselors who can handle such issues.
Wait, you do not have counselors?
No. Who can handle mentally disturbed people. We have the health experts.
I see.
But we don't have people who can talk and engage them so that they know that it is a condition that can help them live.
And these are the people we need the most.
Yeah, that can help them live in the society. We have a national policy on mental health, and government insists that PWDs and those who are mentally disturbed must be treated equal. When they go to health facilities, they must receive equal treatment. I'm glad to mention that in Kiryandongo, including the host communities and the refugees, our technical health experts have been treating them equally. When they go for services, they access services. When they go to schools, they access social services. I'm on the Committee of Gender, and we are directly in charge of PWDs, the elders, and others. But you find that even the budget that government wants to give NUDIPO, or those in charge of managing PWDs and also the health sector, like Butavika Hospital. The budget cannot be enough.
All right.
So we shall continue.
The government will give you the budget if you show them why they should give you more money. So in the event of councillors being absent, what are some of the dangers that will culminate through the community?
Of course, we shall continue supporting them through schools, and that is not direct support.
What kind of dangers befall the community in the absence of these councillors?
Of course, like as government and policy makers, we must just come up with a law, another law. People are abusing drugs, people are taking all sorts of things in this district, which people are stressed. There's no money, there's poverty. Even the PWDs are affected because when there are no resources or money in the pocket, you're mentally stressed. So all those are causes.
Have you experienced high school dropout rates as a result of these young people being unable to receive psychosocial and mental health support?
No. Our PWDs are in school. They are studying. Though we don't have specific schools that much, they are what they would become
so
in
they are
future.
studying with those who are not
but
disabled.
they are starting in our ordinary schools.
I see.
They are going to school. That one there's no challenge.
There are no schools tailor-made for them, special
No.
schools.
We don't have those ones
Nice.
yet.
Go ahead.
As Kiryandongo. But we have a school in Masindi that can take care of them, but parents don't have the capacity to support their students when they are out of the district.
All right.
Thank you. God bless you.
The biggest factor here is the budget. A round of applause for the area MP. Thank you so much, sir, for coming through. And of course, we have a representative of the youth with disabilities. And of course, I see people already putting up their hands. We are going to be picking them randomly after we talk to Mr. Rajab Hassan, who is the chairperson for youth with disabilities. What better person to talk to than him, who is always interacting with the young people? Rajab, let's talk about the problems affecting the youth with disabilities. Let's bring out the subject matter at hand.
Thank you so much, Speaker.
Indeed.
Members of Parliament present, all protocol observed. To this evening or this afternoon, I'm glad to give some of the challenges that are being faced by youth with disabilities in regards to Kiryandongo. I would love to begin with issue of COVID-19. Honorable Speaker, if we see that when COVID-19 came into Uganda, it's the whole Kiryandongo was challenged, but to a person with disability, it again disabled that person more than the way that person was. Take, for example, this was a person having some small business, but when time came that this virus had to break into Uganda, you get that this person retarded or went back. So, to that matter, COVID-19 affected him or her the most. I go to the stakeholders. Honorable Speaker, if you see these OPDs, Organization of Persons with Disabilities, that they might love to help a youth with a disability to access any other service. But these organizations at the ground here don't have enough capacity to help this person in terms of finance. Let's say a person might love to go to school, might lack medication. This is a person in the village, might love to access these services.
So what examples of mental health and mental health problems have you seen within the communities?
Yeah.
Among youth with disabilities?
Mental health is another kind of disability, which I might say that you are going to eat, it's more worse. People tend to do away with. They give you all sorts of names. whereby if you are not courage enough, you tend to, once people come in the compound, you go backwards,
I see.
shy out. Whereas they are suffering, but it's very hard for you to say that you are going to push out your issues.
All right, he's largely saying that youth with disabilities should be given that special treatment when it comes to laws and policies within the country. All right, the floor is open. You can just raise your hand if you really want to speak to us. There's a lady just behind there. Only 2 minutes to each participant.
Honorable Speaker
Yeah.
of this People's Parliament.
Indeed.
Protocol observed. My name is Nkova Esther. I work as a district health educator and representing the district health
Perfect.
officer. When we talk of mental health, I just want this house to realize that all of us are mentally sick.
Indeed.
It is only the degree which matters. And therefore, people with mental illnesses are outside there, very many, including the PWDs. But the problem we have, they are normally self-reporting. If they don't come to the health system, we may not get to know who has that problem.
Thank you so much.
Now, but as a health system, there are measures we have put in place with our partners. If I go specifically to the settlement, we have TPO, which is helping us, and IRC, Y Global. But we also have the VHT system from the grassroots level, from the community level, which help us to identify those people who cannot self-report, and therefore encourage them to come for services. So even when we are talking of people with mental illnesses, people with disabilities, we also have certain challenges as a health system. I may take an example of delivery beds. You may find that in health facilities, the delivery beds are not disability compatible. And therefore, that calls in very many other things. But otherwise, in the form of systems, we have it from the grassroots up the national level. We also sometimes refer to Hoima Regional Referral Hospital, or we refer to Butabika National Hospital. Thanks so much.
And indeed, that was great. Thank you so much. Another one, there you are. You're talking about mental health and psychosocial support for youth with disabilities. All right, go ahead, sir. Your name?
Thank you so much. My name is Nyeko Jole, John
Nyeko.
Paul, and that's a long sentence. Normally, I abbreviate it to be JJ Paul. I work for Mental Health Uganda, and I am in the branch of Gulu. It was a very interesting presentation by my sister who came from OPM office, and also the honorable member of parliament. When I came in, I made a walk through the town council of Kiryandongo.
Yes.
And it comes in to confirm that the needs for mental health and psychosocial support is very real. The fact that you walk along the street and you identify somebody with multiple psychosocial needs, which means the burden is already overwhelming.
I actually saw like 50.
It is
on the
overwhelming. Now, I heard from the member of parliament and my sister on the data that she has been making. And I am also very humbled to see the team that I believe have come from the district. I have a question to whosoever may be able to answer, but it was directly to the member of parliament. We have the Mental Health Treatment Act 2018, which to our information, it has replaced the 1964 Treatment Act, which was completely outdated. We are all very grateful for this great work done to pass the new Treatment Act. But the question I was asking, is this Treatment Act having a policy? Because an act without a policy, it is not very easy to put it into practice. Then another thing I wanted to ask was about the budget allocation, because what I know, the government allocates 0.7% of the total health budget to mental health. And this goes mostly to Butabika National Referral Hospital. This brings me to a question of whoever will be able to answer for me in Kiryandongo district about the status of employment for specialized people who provide psychosocial services. Because according to standard by public service order, it is to have a district representative for person with a district representative, a focal person for mental health. Then also at health center 3s, there is need to have a psychiatry nurse. So I don't know how the status look like with the burden I have seen in my life, following the street of Kiryandongo and not failing to identify someone with multiple psychosocial needs. So this is the question that I wanted to be clarified to me. And I am Honorable J.J. Paul from Bulu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, J.J. Paul. And of course, the area MP Linus also mentioned the same issue. He said there are no counselors, there are no focal people, and he mentioned those were some of the challenges. There's a gentleman there, and then we shall go to the lady. Yeah, you're next. You're next after the gentleman. Gender equality. All right.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, sir.
And the members, I'm called Dennis Odwar, and I work with the National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda, NUDIPU.
Nice.
Based in Kampala. We have, someone talked about the persons, the Mental Health Act, which has been passed and assented to by the President. But the act cannot be operationalized without which it cannot be put into more use.
Indeed.
Actually, we cannot hold the duty bearers responsible if the act is not regulated.
I see.
And this is a challenge. And the process of regulation of this act has to be taken by the line ministry. And here we have two ministries. We have Ministry of Gender, Labor, and Social Development, that is in charge of disability. And then we have the Ministry of Health, that is in charge of health. But the challenge has been with the Mental Health Act that when you go to the Ministry of Gender, they say the line ministry is Ministry of Health.
I see the problem.
And when you go to the Ministry of Health, they say Ministry of Gender is the one that is responsible for the disability.
The police would have helped us know who is in charge.
These are some of the issues that needs to be sorted out.
Indeed.
And in order for us to address the mental health issues, we cannot go far as a country without having these laws being operational and also ensuring that we hold the duty bearers accountable for what rights are enshrined under these laws to benefit persons with disabilities.
Thank you so much. That is the kind message coming in from NUDIPU. We've
Thank
run out
you.
of time.
I know there are many things that I wanted to bring out, but
Yeah.
because of time
Because of
issues,
time.
thank you.
Indeed, maybe we shall host you on Morning at NTV Uganda, any show, then we, amplify on that conversation. Yes, there is a lady in the back. Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, sir. Protocol observed. And by name is Alinaitwe Grace, who is a caregiver to a child with disability. Here I faced a challenge when I produced that child and the father realized that that child was disabled. He decided to abandon us and he left us in the house. He formed a new home and he left us. And there was no any support that I would get from the father. So I decided to go to courts of law for assistance. And whereby he was ordered to be giving me 100,000, and which is not enough. This is a child who is a school going. That 100,000 is not enough. And of recently, it is when she started walking at 13 years, but she does not talk. So this child is mentally disturbed because she knows the father physically. Even when she hears the sound of the motorcycle of the father, she will run to welcome the father. But the father will show her. She will tell her, go away because you are disabled.
Indeed.
So that is the challenge.
So the parents are discriminating on their own children.
Even myself,
That is terrible.
I'm mentally disturbed
Indeed.
because of the
situation.
The son, the child is being mistreated.
How do you want the government to help you?
The government should assist me. The child is in school, but that 100,000 is for only transport. At times it is not enough because the child is in Mitiana district.
Indeed.
To a school called the Chance for Children. That's where the child is
An
studying
NGO.
from.
I see.
At times I fail to get transport to bring her back for holidays. So I leave her there. That is the challenge I'm facing. So we mothers, we are left single mothers because of those children who have disabilities.
Thank you so much for that humble submission. Indeed, Grace, thank you so much for that humble submission. You see how the child is disabled, you see how the man is discriminating on the child, and you see how the mother is distressing with mental health illnesses as a result of the situation she's going through. Many are found, trapped in the same situation as Grace indeed, and of course we call upon the members of government, other NGOs to ramp up this support on mental health and psychosocial support systems in that regard. And we've come to the end of this edition of the People's Parliament. Of course, we were here in Kiryandongo district interacting with the leaders and also the refugees who are distressing, especially the youth with disabilities. The theme for this conversation was mental health and psychosocial support for the youth with disabilities. And of course, this conversation shall continue next Saturday right here on NTV Uganda. Thank you and good evening. Have a blessed night.